Now I've got a few more fish in the tank, and I thought I'd give you guys who've been following this set of videos a small update with how things are going right now. Jeremy the Foxface right now is king of the castle, really settled in, happy as Larry, show off, and really fit and healthy. The last two fish that went in were two Vanderbilt chromis. There were three, but I think one got knocked off by the other two in quarantine. I've heard them described as drab, but their colours are absolutely gorgeous. I just don't see how anyone could describe them as drab. Firefish is fit and healthy, still nervous as anything of Jeremy. As soon as he appears, purple firefish goes into his little cave at the back, but he's out regular as clockwork, happy to grab food whenever it's feeding time. Who else we got? Right, we got the Royal Grammar. Now in quarantine she was being picked on by the two chromis, so I put her in the tank a few days before the chromis, and then she defended her place. She takes no nonsense now. Anyone who comes near her home, she'll see them off. Beautiful fish. The two clowns are growing slightly. They tend to hang around at the back. I've got an anemone coming in a few days' time, a rose bubble tip. So hopefully they'll feel a bit happier once they find that. But again, fit and healthy, keep themselves to themselves with absolutely stunning markings. I know you can't really get close enough on this shot, but hopefully when we get the anemone we'll be able to get some good pictures. And the lyre-tail anthias. Nice fish, very happy with it. The only thing that's annoying about her is when people say, "Oh, you got a goldfish." The Duncan has just come on phenomenally. Facing you is one of its babies. It's got 6 new heads surrounding the original head, which has grown quite a bit. It's very, very happy there, and from what I've seen it's quite an unusual colour as well. So eventually I'll have to look to start fragging that. This Sarat Sport has been growing like nobody's business. What I'll do is I'll cut in a couple of photos a few weeks apart so that it's really obvious how much it has grown. The front at about 5 o'clock position, the branch is splitting into 2 growing points, and the same again just after the 6 o'clock position. And they've developed over just a few days. I'm astonished at the speed of it. This true Australian candy cane has done nothing. It's got those sort of blotches on it which I thought were going to be developing heads, but they don't seem to have gone any further. They don't expand any more than this. Meh. I have to see how it goes. I mean, it seems healthy enough, and when it's under blues, the mouth area is a nice colour, but other than that it hasn't really done much. I guess just give it time. The sun corals are obviously in at this time of day, but they're good and healthy. They take food. They are starting to grow some new heads. So given time again, they'll gradually spread. Very nice corals, but a bit of a hassle having to feed them directly. Well, the crab, I think, finally managed to break off the branch of the hammer. So what I did was I turned it into frags. So I've got this one with 2 heads at the front, and then on one piece of old coral I've got 3 sets of 2/3 head hammers. That keeps them safe for now, and whether I keep them all together or not I don't know, but they're very fit and healthy. and the crab can't climb up into them now. Frilly Tonga Mushroom, fit and healthy. I give that some small meaty food every now and then, and it really closes up around it. I was quite astonished at how mobile it is. I'm waiting for when it decides to split into two. One of my recent purchases was this raspberry chalice. It looks much better in real life than on the film. It hasn't been in there long, but it's starting to grow. At the same time, I got this Acropora, stunning colours, again fit and healthy, and starting to base out on the plug. I actually cut the plug back because I don't like the look of a full disc, even once it's based out over, because it's obvious that there's a disc. So I thought by roughing the edges, it would just make it look a bit more natural once it does base out. Now this, my Acropora hystrix, is just growing like a rocket. You can see all the white growing tips. It's just phenomenal, and it's basing out well as well. Again, I'll cut in some photos showing a before and after a few weeks apart, but I'm just absolutely amazed that any coral could grow so quickly, any hard coral. Here's a reverse Superman montipora. Again, as you can see, it's basing out over its plug as I bought it. I've got to admit, it's not the most exciting coral to look at. It's not the prettiest colours, but I wanted some encrusting ones to make the scape look more natural given time. One of my favourites is this bird of paradise, Stylophora. Again, the colours are beautiful. The polyps are purple, and in the right light, where you can see the branches between them, they're green, and it's a lovely combination. And again, this one's not been in there that long. As you can see, it's not based out at all, but on the right hand side, that branch is already splitting into, I think it's going to be 4 growing points, but it's at least 3. But a lovely little coral. My Barley green slimer, which doesn't look very green through the camera, seems very healthy, polyps out, and it's basing out nicely, but not much in the way of growth. I don't know if they tend to base before growing, but we'll see. The conch is a fascinating little creature, but this is quite a big tank. I think it's too much for him to handle. So today I've got a whole bunch of Nassarius Snails to help him keep the sandbed worked over. There's no big issue right now, but I'm getting a light dusting of algae in places, so hopefully the Nassarius can help turn it over. I had a frag of electric green apple palithoas. I actually decided to break it up into 3. So this is the main chunk, but I've made another 2 frags that are scattered elsewhere around the tank. Really like them. Nice pallies. From a member of Ultimate Reef, I got a load of bristleworms, mini brittle stars and dove snails, so I put those in. These little fan worms, I transferred them up from the sump. Again, I've scattered those things around the rockwork just to help build up the life that's in the rock. Speak of the devil, there's one of the little mini brittle stars with banded legs. So they survived being posted, and they've been in here about a week, I think. So far so good. My dragon soul favi is doing well. It got damaged on that bottom corner when I was using putty. but it's recovering, and on the other cut edges it's starting to overflow and grow down. I feed it quite regularly. I give it a dusting of reefroids before I do anything else in the tank, and then I can add some small meaty bits, some mysis or brine, and the feeding response isn't bad. It's a slow eater, but if it's eating and it's growing, then I'm happy. Today I just got a Chalk Goby, which unfortunately is very hard to see here, partly because the quarantine tank's got dirty glass. She's obviously to help keep the sand turned over. She's not too bright. She hasn't yet discovered that pot of sand next to her. I watched her in the tank at the LFS for quite a while, and when she took a mouthful of sand she only went up about half an inch, maybe an inch, before spitting it out, because one thing I didn't want is a fish that's going to take a mouthful, swim to the top of the tank and scatter it everywhere. So fingers crossed she won't make too much of a mess. But it's day one now of quarantine, so it's going to be a few weeks before she goes in the tank. Looking forward to that. My refugium is absolutely bursting with life as well. Got loads and loads of these fan worms. Several different macroalgae. It needs a bit of a siphon and a tidy up, and I've disturbed the sand by taking some out for the goby in quarantine, so it doesn't look at its best, but it seems to be doing its job because all my levels are good. I just thought I'd show you them having a little bit of a feed. So if I, using my Profi Touch, put it into feed mode, let the levels drop a bit. Just let the levels drop a bit, and then I'll dump a small amount of food in. You can see how keen they all are. The foxface is happy with his nori in the clip, but he happily takes all the other food as well. So here we go. Firefish has come back out. These are beautiful fish. I've got about, I think about 8 different types of frozen, and I just feed them the next one from the pile and just rotate, so there's always a change as to exactly what they're getting. So far so good. They eat most things. 1 or 2 will leave certain types of food, but then they'll just be that bit hungrier for the next meal. The other thing I've got acclimating right now, again to help with the sand and detritus, is 10 Nassarius Snails and the most gorgeous Brittle Star. He is huge. It's got about another hour. So I'll let it finish off and then film when they're first put in the tank. I've got a few more corals coming in about a week's time, and also a rose bubble tip anemone, which I think I might have mentioned already. I'm just going to put in the Nassarius Snails, try and feed them to the area that there's most of the they're not going to want to go out, are they? No. Another 2 more. Come on, there we are. And this type of snail can turn themselves over very quickly, as you can see. I'll leave them for 10 minutes or so and then get the starfish in once these guys have disappeared. These guys just move along like rockets. the lines on the picture, the interference with the LED lights. Oh, some of these guys are already digging themselves into the sand. And they get the nickname zombie snails because when there's food being put in the tank, they all suddenly rise from the rise from the sand. Next, I've got my Brittle Star. In he goes. Big fella. I reckon he's about 10 inches, maybe just over a foot from tip to tip. I'm sure he's already found himself a little hidey hole. He's going to bury himself straight in that rock. Incredible. Like some sort of monster. I'm sure once he's found himself a hole that he's really happy with, all we'll see is just the ends of his legs probing outside for food. Oh, he's gone right through. There's a big cave under there, I'm sure he'll be happy in there. Really feels like things are coming together on the tank now. Anyway, thanks for following. I'll keep you guys updated.